Welcome to Sass Bites. This is your weekly bite of Sass during your lunch break. I'm your host, Micah Godbolt, and we are continuing down the road to SassConf. This is part 7 of this series. I'm kind of surprised we're going that fast. But it's been a great experience, and I get pinged like by 5 people as soon as we start, of course. We've been taking the last few weeks and few weeks in the future as well. We're going to be talking with a bunch of the speakers. They're going to be at SassConf this coming November. SassConf is a yearly conference that's been in New York for a couple years and will be down in Austin, Texas this November 11th through 14th. It is $500 plus extra if you're interested in attending some of the workshops. I highly recommend getting down there. There's going to be a long list of amazing speakers, and you are going to get a chance to meet 2 more of them today. Before getting to that, though, I do want to also mention if you are in the Portland area now or tomorrow, or want to be in the area, there is a great opportunity to meet some of the web's most talented and most sought-after speakers. People like Brad Frost, Ethan Marcotte, Jen Simmons, Val Head. We're going to have an amazing group of people coming out to Responsive Field Day, which is going to be tomorrow, September 25th. It's from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., just a big day packed. It's a single-track event with just a ton of amazing speakers. So it's $175 if you have a chance to come out here to Portland, or if you're in the area, do stop by. I'm going to be there. There's going to be a bunch of great speakers. It's going to be a great time. This is the first year for it. I know they're excited to put this conference on. So let's go ahead and move on to our interviews for today. We've got 2 amazing speakers. They're going to be coming on and talking about how they got into Sass and about what they're going to be speaking at SassConf. First, we have Stacy Kvernmo. I've practiced that for a while. Stacy's from Aurora, Illinois, where she's proudly spent the last 13 years, spent lots of time in tables and can talk to you about Go Live, which many of you probably don't even know what that is, besides Go Live. She also she enjoys creating efficient workflows, getting geeky with Sass, and experimenting with new design processes. 3 months ago, she just joined Collegiate Education as a senior UX designer. So we're excited to have Stacy on. We also have Julie Cameron, and I totally didn't ask if that's the right pronunciation, but it seems
pretty straightforward.
Okay, good. It's Cameron. It's French. Julie's a front-end developer working remotely, which is a great thing, out of Michigan, for a company called Articulate, which apparently I cannot articulate. She's a co-founder of the Ann Arbor chapter of Girl Develop It, where she leads the team of organizers. Events like a boss. She is not bossy, but like the boss, right? Okay. Exactly. She's super passionate about Sass and modular architecture. When she's not writing code, she likes music, yoga, beer, and cats. When you put all those together, that is the best party you could ever imagine.
It's a good time.
It's a very good time. So welcome both of you to the show. Appreciate you taking some time and working through some fun technical difficulties to make this happen. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
No problem. We're going to start off with Stacy because she put her name first in the Excel document.
I did.
Someone did. It got there first. Like, how do I pick who's first? Oh, just go by the sheet. All right, so the first question we ask our guests when they come on the show is how did you get into Sass, and what kind of change has that made for you and your workflow?
Well, it's no surprise to my circle of code friends that I'm a huge fan of WordPress. However, I first got introduced to Sass at my very first and last Drupal meetup. I was attending the Fox Valley Drupal meetup, and one of the guys there was demonstrating Compass and how it's, kind of a new thing and it's going to change the workflow. And I think that was back in 2011. So after that, I just started playing around with it on my own and then slowly incorporating it into some projects. And now, since then, I've never looked back. And I know people have talked about how sometimes it's not necessary, but I don't think I would want to live in a world without variables, at least. I mean, that's a huge savior, is variables. So that is how I got started with Sass.
Well, great. I was going to ask what was the best part about Sass, but I think you answered that one for me pretty quick. Yeah, being able to create those variables and be able to populate all those things through. Now, CSS variables are coming around, but it's certainly nice to be able to do not just the values, but names and functions, and I mean, you can use variables all over the place in Sass. So it's really powerful to be able to create those systems out of that. So we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that you do. You're working with collegiate education, but what are some of the other things that you enjoy outside of your work life besides creating large silver ampersands?
Well, I do try to do as many Pinterest projects as possible. Usually they end up in a big failed pile, or they get started and then maybe never finished, which I probably have about 5 of those in the closet next to me, which makes my husband super happy. But other than spending time with my family, I have a 3- and a 4-year-old, so when they go to bed, I typically spend that time doing yoga. I retired from competing in fitness about 5 or 6 years ago, and since then I've taken up yoga, where I'm super hardcore into it, if that's something you can do in your yoga. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I spend my time at night.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, you're going to be talking about code review, turning humiliation into greatness. And I know I'm actually your mentor for this, not that I have that much advice to bring, but I got a chance to look over your notes, and it looks like a really great talk. Can you give us a quick taste of kind of why you chose this topic and then what people might be able to expect out of your talk?
Yeah, I love teaching, and I was thinking about submitting a presentation this year, and I was trying to figure out what people haven't been talking about, and I had never heard someone talk about the subject, but if I look back into my career, it's the single most important thing that has rapidly increased my knowledge of the basics of CSS and how everything works together. I ended up, I always worked at small agencies where there was maybe 1 to 3 at the most web designers on the team, and so we worked pretty siloed. We had like our own projects, and no one ever looked at each other's code. And yeah, you referenced the Adobe Go Live back in the day. I mean, we just started learning how to like check things in and out with their version control system. So we never really had any chance to look at each other's code. And then a few years ago, I applied for this job where they did a code challenge. So you had a few weeks to work on it, you submitted it, they reviewed it, and brought you in to kind of go over all the decisions you made. And while I converted the mock-up to code like pretty much pixel perfect, even back to IE 7 or 8, I wasn't able to clearly articulate the decisions I made, or at least why I made them, or some of the other things I could have done instead, and I found like a huge gap in, yes, I can do this, I have like the muscle memory, I know which CSS selectors to use, but because I couldn't articulate that in my native language of English as opposed to CSS, I found myself afterwards just diving in everywhere that I could to really get a good understanding of why I made the choices and how I can present those to a team or to other people, which completely changed the way I code and the way I think about code. So I think it's one of the best things that a person or a company or a team can do to really grow their knowledge. I know most people think code review is about finding bugs, but I think the #1 value is if you want to get better at what you do, I would definitely recommend a code review process at your work. Even if you're an individual, there's ways you can go about that, and that's what I will be speaking about at these conferences.
Very cool. Now that's a great personal story to be able to bring in there of why that's something that's so important. I know I think front-end development and CSS in general, it's always been does it look right? It must be right. You know, as long as it looks like the mock-up, that's really all that anyone ever cared about. But we're moving to a place where the front end is such more of a pivotal role of the development process that, you know, we need to be writing code that scales. We need to be writing code that's going to be modular. We need to be writing code that other people can use for the next 3 to 4 years. So it's something we never really had to deal with because if it looked right, it was fine, right?
Yeah, and it can pass visual regression testing, which I know you're going to be speaking about at a couple of conferences upcoming, and it can pass all the unit tests, but doesn't mean it's still written with the best practices in mind or forward thinking. I mean, so those are the things that kind of get overlooked when you think about what code review could do.
Exactly. Cool. Well, looking forward to, I know I will get a sneak peek of your talk as you give me a couple run-throughs, so looking forward to hearing more about that. Thank you so much. Now, moving over to Julie. How are you doing today?
Doing good.
Good. I haven't had a chance to peer through your any random things in the background I can pick out. Michigan posters and anyway, appreciate you coming on today. Same question to you. What was your history with Sass? How did you get into using it? How's that changed the way that you work?
Yeah, at my previous company, we'd been using less for a little while, maybe probably less than a year, and we weren't really feeling super great about it. No one really loved it or hated it. We were just kind of in the middle. And at some point, I had been put onto a new project and kind of given the autonomy to make the decision, like either keep going with less or switch to something else. And I'd been hearing a lot about Sass. It seemed like it was becoming the really popular alternative. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago. I'd also recently just gotten like a Code School account, and they had just put up the Code School or the Sass tutorials up there. So I was like, all right, I'll work my way through these. By the time I'm done, I should be able to make a decision. And I was sold by the time I went through both of those workshops. So made the decision to move forward with Sass and been working with it ever since.
Cool. What do you think is the one thing that you take out of it that kind of changes the way that you're able to work?
I just love how it's so inherently modular, right? Like I think, modular architectures are so much the way to go right now, and everything from imports and variables and mix-ins, like it's just made for modular architecture, I think, and I love that.
That is certainly a perfect answer. I'm completely with that. I think the first time I got into Sass, it was like variables, mix-ins, all this other stuff was great, but like, how can I now organize my code better? Like, what's my folder structure going to be like? What are my files going to look like? How do these things get split up? And that was probably my first like big challenge or question, was trying to figure that out, because that was for me one of the most important things. So it sounds like you're pretty involved up there in Ann Arbor with the Girl Develop It and a few other things. What other things are you passionate about that you do up in that area?
Well, I'm kind of on a health kick right now. It's been kind of a whirlwind year for me, so I'm just trying to slow down and care about myself a little bit more. So doing a lot of yoga. I've recently got back into running. I'm actually on my 3rd round of this thing called the Whole Life Challenge. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's sort of like a gamified life diet. So it focuses on like nutrition and exercise and healthy life practices. It's an 8-week thing. So unfortunately, it doesn't play nice with my love of beer and cocktails. But sometimes breaks are a good thing.
It's something to work towards, right?
Yes.
Well, neat. So you are going to be doing a workshop at SassConf, which is exciting, and it's going to be on Sass. So you'll be calling it a Sass shop. Can you tell people, for one, like, why did you want to do this? Is this something that you've done a bit before? And then also, what can they expect from that workshop?
Yeah, it's an introductory workshop that I've done a couple times before. I actually initially created it for Girl Develop It Detroit. They had asked me to do a Sass workshop. So the content was originally built for that, and then I've kind of taken it from there and given it a couple conferences and a couple other locations. So it is introductory, and I know like the last 2 years of SassConf haven't really been tailored to beginner Sass developers, right? It's been a lot of experienced people. So I think we're trying to draw in a new crowd this year, get people who are trying to transition from other preprocessors or who have not even picked one up yet. So it'll go over all the basics, everything you need to know to get started, variables, nesting, imports, mix-ins, all the good stuff.
Awesome. How long are the workshops at SassConf this year?
Well, this is not one of like the Saturday workshops, not one of the extra paid ones. This will be during the week. So I believe it's set for 3 hours right now.
Okay, well that's certainly good to know. So if you're interested in doing this, it's not an additional cost on top of the regular attendance fee.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right, so you both are going to be out in Austin in just a couple months. What are you most looking forward to out there? I already asked the barbecue question beforehand and kind of got crickets. So what are the things you're looking forward to down there?
Well, I was talking to Elise in the chat room, and she mentioned that there's a few great yoga studios in Austin. So I've been looking at those, and I believe Julie will come with me to a class or two, maybe. So I'm excited about that.
So there's a yoga track, is what you're trying to tell me. You need to get on that yoga track, and awesome.
BYOM.
Yeah, BYOM. Julie, is there anything else down there that you've been looking forward to?
I always love to go to a place. I've never been to Austin, so I like to just go to new places and try out all the food I can get, all the different, cocktails I can try. I just love the food and drink scene anywhere I go.
So you're gonna be taking a break from the challenge between finish it
I
up
will
before
be.
and start it when you get back.
Exactly.
Sounds good. Any particular type of food, especially Texas food, that you're most interested in down there?
I'm up for anything. I'm vegetarian, so that might be a little interesting, trying to find some vegetarian food. But I think we'll have good luck.
I'm sure Austin's going to have enough of a diversity in that respect. That's not all going to be just meat barbecue. Maybe find like vegetable barbecue. I bet they're even taking that to a new level.
I think that could happen.
That could be. Well, thank you both for coming on the show today, talking about what got you into Sass and about the things you're going to be presenting at SassConf. Looking forward to hearing more of the talks. And for everyone that's listening, make sure that if you don't have your ticket yet, pick that up for SassConf, which is November 11th through 14th in Austin, Texas. You can pick up your tickets now for $500. Catch us again next week as we bring on a couple more of the speakers and get a chance to talk to them about what got them into Sass and what they're going to be speaking about. So we're going to keep on doing this until I think we're actually scheduled up to pretty much like the Thursday right before the 11th. So we'll keep on going at it and get a chance to meet a lot more of the speakers. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week. And thanks for coming today, and thanks for Stacy and Julie for coming on the show as well. Appreciate having you on. All right.
Thanks for having us.
See you guys. Bye.